So today we're doing a deep dive into those recent court hearings, May 13th and 15th, in the Ko Wen-je case. We're really focusing on, well, the inconsistencies.
Yeah, the shaky parts, the questionable aspects of the witness testimonies that seem to be coming out.
We've been looking at the summaries put out by Huang Kuo-chang and Chang Chi-kai.
Right, and our goal here, our mission, if you like, is to pull out the key points from their summaries about the credibility of these statements.
And what that might mean for the whole judicial process in this case.
Exactly. The implications for the case against Ko Wen-je, and maybe bigger questions about judicial integrity.
Okay, let's start with May 13th. Chu Yahu's confession. Huang Kuo-chang highlighted something from Chu's detention hearing way back in September.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. The prosecutor asked him repeatedly, apparently, about the NT $2.1 million. Was it a bribe from Shen Qingqing?
And Chu said,
Denied it, over and over. Huang's summary says more than 10 times.
more than 10 times. Wow.
But here's the kicker. Huang also suggests those denials weren't clearly documented in the official transcript.
Okay, that immediately raises a flag, doesn't it? Why wouldn't clear denials be fully recorded?
Precisely. And then, somehow, he confesses the reason given. The prosecutor's words resonated with him.
Resonated. What words?
We don't know. And crucially, according to Huang, those specific words weren't recorded either. Feels like a big piece is just missing.
It really does. And the defense reacted to this.
Oh yeah. Both Huang and Chang Chi-kai mentioned the defense lawyers wanted to see the video, the interrogation video footage.
Makes sense. To see what actually happened, what resonated.
Right. Standard procedure, you'd think. But according to Chang Chi-kai, the prosecutor tried to block them from seeing it.
Block them.
Twice, Chang says.
Okay, that's not a good look. If everything was above board, why hide the tape?
Exactly. It
Yeah.
fuels suspicion. Chang Chikos also adds details from the translated transcript. Apparently, Chu first said absolutely not to the bribery question.
Absolutely not. Pretty clear.
Very. But then Chang suggests Chu overheard prosecutors talking about charging everyone involved.
Yeah.
And then he confessed.
So maybe it wasn't internal resonance, but external pressure. Fear of consequences for others.
That's certainly the implication hanging there. And Chang also mentions Chu's stated reason for confessing feeling responsible for paperwork.
Which, after denying bribery 10 times, sounds, well, illogical.
It seems incredibly counterintuitive. And Chang apparently asked directly, was there improper questioning? Were there threats?
And the response?
The prosecutor still refused to show the video. It just doesn't build confidence, does it?
No, it doesn't. Huang Kuo-chang used the phrase shedding sunlight on the courtroom. You can see why. Blocking the video really suggests there might be something about those interrogation methods they don't want seen.
Let's shift slightly to Chu's testimony about Ko Wen-je himself. Still, based on that May 13th summary, looking back at a previous hearing.
Okay. What did Chang Chi-kai say about that?
He highlighted that under cross-examination by the defense, Chu admitted something pretty crucial.
Which was?
He wasn't actually at any meetings between Ko Wen-je and Shen Qingqing.
Wait, he wasn't there? So his claims about Ko's involvement
Were assumptions. His own word, apparently. He guessed.
Guess.
Yeah. He testified. Shen didn't tell him about the money beforehand, didn't explain it after. He was just guessing Ko was involved somehow.
Okay, but testimony based on guessing, that's not really evidence, is it?
Well, that's where Article 160 of the Code of Criminal Procedure comes in, as Chang points out. It basically says testimony needs to be based on actual knowledge, not just speculation.
So guesswork testimony is legally questionable. How much of the case relies on this?
That's the question Chang seems to be raising. And it wasn't just about Ko Wen-je. Chu also admitted his claims about Ko discussing the Tsinghua City project with Councilor Ying Xiaowei.
Let me guess.
Also guessing, yep. So Chang identifies this pattern, baseless assumptions about key figures.
That really chips away at his credibility, doesn't it?
It certainly seems to. And Chang connects this to what he calls a flimsy and vague indictment, plus the alleged hiding of other testimonies, like from an urban development official who apparently said the process was legal. It paints a picture of a potentially weak case built on shaky ground.
Right. Okay, let's move to May 15th. The testimony of Lin Chin-jung, the former deputy mayor.
Yes. Huang Kuo-chang had some strong words to describe this one. He characterized Lin's testimony as full of animosity and hatred towards Ko Wen-je.
Strong language. Why did the prosecution call him then, according to Huang?
That's what Huang found baffling. Lin apparently kept stressing that Ko Wen-je knowingly violated the law on the Tsinghua City for the floor area ratio.
Okay, the FAR, that's the building density limit, basically.
Right. But here's the twist Huang brings up. Lin himself, back when he was in charge, initially insisted on capping the FAR at 392%.
He set the lower limit.
Yes. And that decision actually led to the Control Yuan censuring Koh's administration in 2016.
So Lin's earlier actions caused problems for Koh.
Seems like it. And then, Huang points out, in 2018, Lin, still heading the Urban Planning Commission, approved the increase to 560% FAR.
Wait, he approved the higher FAR that Koh then implemented.
That's what Huang's summary states. So Lin now arguing Koh broke the law seems, well, inconsistent with his own past actions.
Very inconsistent, and the specific issue the prosecutors are targeting now.
Is the later FAR increase in July 2020 up to 678%? They claim that process was illegal.
Okay, but where was Lin in July 2020?
Gone. He'd left the city government at the end of 2018. Huang highlights this. Lin had zero involvement in the decision being prosecuted.
So why is he testifying about it?
Huang basically asked the same question. It doesn't seem logical. And apparently during cross-examination, Lin was evasive.
How so?
Allegedly dodging direct questions, just repeating talking points. That's according to Huang's account.
Did the defense manage to pin him down on anything?
They apparently exposed a big contradiction. Lin argued the commission should have waited for some administrative litigation to finish before deciding the FAR.
Okay, a procedural argument.
The defense pointed out that Lin himself oversaw that 2018 FAR increase while that same litigation was still going on.
Ah, so he did exactly what he now says shouldn't have been done.
Precisely. A major inconsistency. Then there was another point. Lin argued against using detailed plans for FAR bonuses.
And the counter-argument.
Huang says there are loads of precedents for doing just that. And more pointedly, he alleges Lin himself approved a 20% FAR bonus using such plans in Kaohsiung just last year in 2023.
20%, when their cap was much lower.
Apparently their cap was 5%, so a huge jump. And Lin's response when confronted with this?
Let me guess. Evasive.
According to Huang, it was a rather weak. I'd have to check on that.
Doesn't sound very convincing. Huang's final take on Lin.
He concluded with a thought about how, well, hatred can cloud judgment and obliterate professional ethics. It suggests he saw Lin's testimony as driven by personal feelings rather than facts.
Okay, so pulling this all together, based on these summaries from Huang and Cheng.
What we see are some serious question marks. With Chu Yahu, it's about the confession, how it happened, the blocked video, and his admissions that key parts of his testimony against Koh were just guesswork.
Right. Not direct knowledge.
And with Lin Chinzheng, it's testimony that seems, according to Huang, driven by animosity, riddled with contradictions based on his own past actions, and focused on a decision he wasn't even part of.
The overall picture these summaries paint, then, is one where key witness credibility is really under scrutiny.
Definitely. And this directly feeds into the concerns about the case against Koh Vinci. The phrase wrongful imprisonment keeps coming up in discussions around these summaries.
If the core testimonies are this shaky, potentially based on assumptions or maybe even coercion or personal bias, it raises fundamental questions about the prosecution's case.
Absolutely, yeah. And it goes beyond just Koh Wen-je. It touches on judicial integrity, the conduct of the prosecution. Was evidence handled properly? Were interrogation methods fair? Was testimony vetted for bias or speculation? These summaries suggest these are valid questions to ask here.
The alleged blocking of the video evidence is particularly troubling in that regard. It hints at a lack of transparency.
It does, which is why public scrutiny is so important.
And that really brings it back to you, listening. Staying informed on how this case develops seems crucial. These summaries from Huang Keqiang and Tang Qikai, whether you agree with their perspectives or not, highlight potential issues that demand attention.
The focus underscored by these accounts is clearly on the potential for a miscarriage of justice and the need for absolute integrity in legal proceedings.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. What do these reported inconsistencies and contradictions truly suggest about the search for truth and justice in this specific case?
And perhaps more broadly, what does it mean for any legal case if vital testimony might be built on sand, on speculation, guesswork, or potentially compromised circumstances? Something definitely worth mulling over.